Hello and welcome. I'm glad you decided to continue this series. Let's review a few of the important points from the first lecture. First of all, it is important to have a definition or an understanding of what mental health is before you can take deliberate, conscientious steps toward improving. If you don't know what it is, you certainly don't have any good mechanism for taking steps in the direction. You don't know what that direction is. The second important takeaway from the first lecture is that each one of us have within ourselves the resources necessary to improve. Once you have the knowledge of what mental health is and how to make steps to improve it, that's all you need. You don't need someone else. You don't need any equipment. You don't need to go anyplace. You don't need to construct anything else. You have the resources to improve your mental health if you take advantage of them after you understand what they are. And the third takeaway point from the first lecture is that I suggested that mental health is determined by two qualities within the human mind, within the human brain. These two qualities, one of which is fixed, stays with us forever, and the other is variable, depending on life's experiences and what we've learned. And the greater the correlation or agreement between the fixed and the variable component, the better your mental health. And conversely, the poorer the relationship, the more they diverge from each other, then the more your mental health will be compromised. So to begin our journey, we'll take up today the variable component. There are three components that are retained in the subconscious mind after every significant experience, and perhaps after some not so significant experiences either. But these three components are the content, that is the memory of what happened. Then there is always emotions or feelings that are attached to that memory. And finally, for our purposes, what we want to focus on, there is a meaning that is attached to each one of these significant experiences. What does it mean to you? What did you learn from it? What did you take away from it? And we will refer to that meaning of each experience as a basic belief. It is what you believe to be so about any particular situation or event that you have had in the past. Let me give you just a brief example, a very simple example. Suppose you had the unfortunate experience of being bitten by a big black dog when you were a child. You can certainly remember the event, and you can still have some feelings and emotions attached to it. Perhaps those have faded somewhat with the passage of years. But what you also retained is the meaning of it, in the sense that you now believe, your basic belief is that black dogs are dangerous, perhaps all dogs are dangerous, and that they must be avoided. So every experience has three components: the memory of it, the emotions that are attached to it, and the meaning that is attached to it. The importance of these, the meaning and the basic beliefs, will become apparent as we go on. These basic beliefs have a huge task. They determine what most of our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors. Aside from a few instincts that we still retain as human beings, and very few instincts, the basic beliefs determine where to go, what we think, what we say, what we do, what our reaction will be to new events, how we relate into the entire outside world. So as such, these basic beliefs simply cannot be overestimated. They are fundamental to how we relate to the world. To understand a little of how the basic beliefs perform this gigantic task, consider them as a giant filter that filters every incoming situation, every incoming sensation that enters your body, whether you see it, smell it, taste it, feel it, whatever. It first goes through this basic belief filter. And that basic belief filter has three tasks. The first task is to determine whether or not that incoming sensation is dangerous or is a threat. That is critical to our existence. So that's the first thing that the basic beliefs do. If something that occurs is contrary to a basic belief, it sets up an anxiety reaction, and you put into gear a defense mechanism before any conscious thought takes place. Conscious thought you can become aware of it consciously very shortly, but before that happens, before you're aware of it, you have already initiated a defense mechanism to protect yourself. That's one of the very important, the most important aspect of what the basic belief filter system does: keep us safe. The second task of a basic belief filter system is a simple one, but it is also necessary, and that is it allows you to ignore those sensations that come in that are not important. If there's nothing going on in the information that is coming in that is significant to you, if it's insignificant, then the basic belief system allows you to just ignore it. This is important because if every sensation that came into your body was passed on to the higher cognitive, higher thinking facilities, then your brain would not be able to process all of that information and do any meaningful work whatsoever. So it's necessary to ignore a lot of the stuff that's going on around you in order to be able to focus on what is important. So that's the third important task of the basic belief filter system, to if it's not a threat and if it has some significance, then it's passed on and you are able to focus on to do whatever is necessary, whatever your basic belief system tells you is the proper way to interact with the outside world or with yourself even, then that's what takes place. So basic beliefs filter by telling you there's a threat, or saying that it's insignificant, or everything is okay, let's go ahead and do whatever we need to do. In addition to the functions of a basic belief system, there are some qualities or characteristics that are common to all that I'd like for you to know about. One of the basic fundamental qualities or characteristics of a basic belief is that it is true. That is, it's true for you, the holder. Whether it is true or not in an objective sense, that's another matter. But as far as you're concerned, what you believe to be so is true. And you are going to act on that basis. That is the fundamental concept from which we all operate, is the truth of our basic beliefs. Sometimes this can get us in trouble, obviously, but without that quality of truthfulness, then we would have no consistency whatsoever. So it's important for basic beliefs to be true. But it's also important to be able to look at them and to analyze them, which will be the essence of the improvement in our mental health. As Monahan said, everyone has the right to their own opinions, but not to their own facts. So we need to be able sometimes to distinguish between fact and opinion. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Another quality or characteristic of basic beliefs is that they have all been learned. We did not pop out of the womb with a set of preformed beliefs. They have all been learned through experience. Again, we have some instincts that are born into us, and we have the fixed qualities of the brain that we will be talking about in the next few videos. But as far as basic beliefs themselves are concerned, they have all been learned. Another quality is that they are retained throughout life. For the most part, basic beliefs we can change over a period of time with new experiences ordinarily that we run into ordinarily. We can change our attitudes and our minds and our basic beliefs, but unless there is a demanding force that makes us change, it is not going to happen automatically. We don't evolve in our belief systems as a process. We only change by the events that happen to us. So constructing events that will help us change in a positive direction is an essence of what we're talking about here. But remember that unless we do take those steps deliberately, the basic beliefs that we have and have developed over the years will be retained in all likelihood. Another factor about basic beliefs is that they are held in the subconscious brain, in the subconscious mind, as a concept, not in specific words. Basic beliefs don't have words to them as they are stored internally. They can be brought up to consciousness and expressed in words, and that will be a very important part of our process. But they're not sitting there in a word or paragraph form. But nevertheless, hundreds, thousands of them are available on an instant notice when a situation arrives. As I said, everything is filtered through that basic belief system, but not in words, simply as a concept. Another quality or characteristic, unfortunately, of basic beliefs is that they may conflict with each other. You may hold two perfectly good basic beliefs about the same thing at the same time. And you can have basic beliefs that conflict with each other, which causes an inordinate amount of confusion within both internally and externally as you relate to the outside world. But those conflicts, while problematic, they can tend to make life a little interesting at times too. Let's briefly illustrate with a couple of questions the existence of basic beliefs. I'm sure you already have a pretty good concept of what they are, but let me illustrate. Answer these few questions. Each of them will be derived from a belief system that you have. First of all, where were you born? That's not a hard question to answer probably, but nevertheless it depends on what you have learned in the past. Another question, what happens after death? Again, you have a belief system about that probably, and can easily draw that up to consciousness. Another simple example, what's the shape of the earth? Is it pretty much round, flattened a little bit on one end, or is it flat? Maybe some people still believe that, as perhaps they once did. Nevertheless, all these questions, as simple as they are the answers to them are dependent on what your belief system is. And these were quite easily drawn up from your subconscious mind. There are other basic beliefs that you hold that are responsible for behaviors that will not be quite so easy to bring up, but it will be necessary and important to do the best we can to formulate what those basic beliefs are that are responsible for our thoughts and our feelings and our behaviors. All those factors, thoughts and feelings, behaviors, are dependent on a basic belief. You may not be responsible for what you learned, because there are many, many aspects of our living that leave us with basic beliefs that we have no control over. What our parents have taught us, what we've learned in school, what our life experiences are more often than not of our own choosing. So what we've learned, you may not be responsible for that, but you are responsible for retaining those basic beliefs. Just because you have them and have them legitimately does not mean that you have to stay with them. If they are problematic for you or for your family or for the outside world, and you choose to make the changes, that's always going to be possible to do so. As mentioned last time, I'll give you a small assignment to do after each one of these videos. So here's your assignment for today. Sit down, relax, take some time and think about your daily activities, just your routine daily activities, and maybe a little bit that might be out of the ordinary. Now your assignment is to think of a thought or a feeling or a behavior associated with your activities that do not stem from a basic belief. What you do or say or feel that is not dependent on, doesn't derive from, doesn't stem from a basic belief. The point of this little exercise will become apparent, I think, I hope, as you go through the exercise itself. And again, put your answers, write down your answers and keep them in a file folder for future reference. They will become valuable as we proceed through the group of exercises and each one of the elements of the course. That gives you a good basic understanding of what basic beliefs are. The more attention you pay to them, the more you become aware of them, the more you understand how your thoughts and feelings and behaviors are dependent on them and stem from them, the more you will be able to recognize their significance in your life. Next, we'll take up the other component of mental health, which is going to be a new term for you, and that term is inborn intentions. This is a term I coined myself to describe this this group of qualities or characteristics that are fixed within each one of us. They are common to all, and they play a vital role in understanding what mental health is. We're going to spend quite a bit of time in explaining these inborn intentions, which is undoubtedly a new term for you, unless, of course, you happen to have been around me for the last few years, and then you can probably hardly escape having at least heard about them, because I talk about them an awful lot. But we'll give you a good understanding of what inborn intentions are and how the relationship between inborn intentions and basic beliefs result in your mental health. So we will take a very careful look at that over the next 3 videos. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching, and until next time and beyond, remember, it's always possible to improve your mental health. Take care.